Of the response of the opposition is that I am disappointed, but I am not surprised.
I want generations to come to have a good constitution. I want generations to come to have access to their final court. Shanique Myrie got justice because of her access to the CCJ. She wasn't a rich person. She couldn't afford to take a case to London.
Yeah. Go on, mute ya, go on. Ease yourself, just keep it calm, mute ya, star. Only put pressure in my corner. One time it hard for carry on. You no need no girl for turn to, no man for talk to. Feelings hurt, but the journey so far.
Wagwan Success family, this is Andrew Holness this Mark Golden for only pursuing power to become the next Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Vybz Kartel exposed Andrew Holness JLP for not wanting to get rid of the Privy Council. Now, I went ahead and got all the footage to be able to explain and show you what is going on before your eyes in plain sight. I will say it's important to scrutinize the rhetoric of both sides, and by rhetoric I mean Andrew Holness deploys rhetoric by framing Mark Golden actions as self-serving and opportunistic. When he said he speaks to the Jamaican people not as a leader of a political party seeking power, those words are meant to paint Mark Golden in a negative light as someone who prioritizes personal gain over the welfare of the Jamaican people. What Andrew Holness did is intentional and is intended to discredit Mark Golden for not agreeing to still have the Privy Council. This approach by Andrew Holness is to diminish Mark Golden's credibility in the eyes of the Jamaican people.
Of the response of the opposition is that I am disappointed, but I am not surprised. So I speak to you today as Prime Minister of the country, not as leader of a political party seeking power, but as someone who is genuinely interested in the advance of our country. And so I want to assure Jamaicans that the process continues.
Now, when we look at what Mark Golden is doing, Mark Golden relies on rhetoric to highlight systemic injustice and advocate for change in the system. Mark Golden rhetoric is to support a good cause.
Generations are going to have to live with this. Jamaican people should have access to justice now to their final court. It's been denied them from slavery to now. Very few cases go to the Privy Council from Jamaica each year. A small fraction of appeals that are adjudicated by the Court of Appeal here end up at the Privy Council for the benefit of the learning of the final court. It's an untenable situation, and now they're trying to impose a rule that would allow them to vet whether something which is covered by our Constitution and gives somebody an appeal as of right can in fact have that appeal heard. They want to vet that by one judge looking through and 3 judges deciding whether to proceed with the appeal before it is allowed to actually be heard by the 5-man panel or 5-person panel, which is what the Privy Council normally sits in.
You know what's the funny thing about all of this? Despite Mark Golden's genuine intention for the betterment of Jamaica, his message is more difficult to be accepted by the Jamaican people because of the color of his skin and that automatic bias towards him. I can bet you any money if Mark Golden was a black man or was a brown man just like Andrew Holness, Jamaicans would receive this message extremely well and wake up from the sleep or the spell the JLP government has cast on the Jamaican people. I am neither PNP or JLP. I am merely a voice of reason that looks deep into these type of situation and just come to enlighten the people. If most people set aside them identity, or most people form an identity as Labour, right, or PNP, if you set aside that identity and look into things, then you will see things more clearly. Just try it.
And this is a time when I'm prepared to wait. I want generations to come to have a good constitution. I want generations to come to have access to their final court. Shanique Myrie got justice because of her access to the CCJ. She wasn't a rich person. She couldn't afford to take a case to London, but she got justice. The court came here and heard her case, and Barbados had to pay her damages for having wrongfully excluded her from Barbados. And that is a kind of benefit I want the Jamaican people to have, not just on treaty issues around CARICOM access, but on all issues to do with constitutional rights, commercial disputes, and criminal appeals. Time come for that.
Now let me tell you how Vybz Kartel exposed Holness JLP government. Vybz Kartel successfully won his appeal at the Privy Council. This actually tells us something, and that is we have a justice system or a final court that only favors the wealthy elite like Vybz Kartel and the many politicians them, right? Vybz Kartel is able to pay $100 million to get access to the Privy Council effectively. 98% of Jamaicans cannot seek justice this way, and that is the reality of the Holness versus Mark Golding saga. Mark Golding is calling for the adoption of the Caribbean Court of Justice, which is a judicial system accessible to all Jamaicans regardless of financial status. Now tell me which part of that is wrong. Would you rather blindly follow a man that is leading you into financial bankruptcy and prevent you from getting justice if any ordinary Jamaican find themselves in legal trouble, or agree with a man that is making sure you have access at your fingertip? People must be smarter than that. You can't play for a fashion monkey. This is real life, not Dolly House. Holness is fully aware some Jamaicans are slow, and he's playing on that, because in my comprehensive opinion, how can Mark Golding be accused of not representing the people when majority of Jamaicans lack the means to pursue justice through the Privy Council? Just make it make sense. Vybz Kartel case should be an example to many people that getting rid of the king and retaining the Privy Council is not beneficial to ordinary Jamaican seeking justice, and ordinary Jamaican is who Mark Golding is fighting for. It's a bit funny to me that Mark Golding himself never mentioned these things before, and it took someone like me to come and address the situation or just talk about it. Maybe Mark Golding was just waiting on someone like me to actually talk about it instead of him talking about it, because again, Mark Golding probably do not want to mention Vybz Kartel, because you know Vybz Kartel situation is a very touchy subject.
What is the opposition's position on a referendum?
Our position on a referendum, and this is a long-standing position, is that the choice of the final court is really not suitable to be put to a referendum process. Not one country that was in the British Empire, as it then was, and moved away from the Privy Council to establishing another final court has done so by a process that involved a referendum. None. And those that have a constitution that requires a referendum and that have tried it have found that the entire process has become fraught with politics. The issues have become very messy and politicized, and it has been an unsatisfactory process that has not led to the result that was intended. In our constitution from 1962, the Privy Council is not an entrenched provision. And it was always contemplated that Jamaica would evolve away from the Privy Council. That is why it's not an entrenched provision.
If this is not Mark Golding embarrassing Holness JLP government, then I don't know what is. Mark Golding is saying that Holness JLP government is advocating for a referendum to replace the Privy Council, which has never happened before in any of the British colonies and has proven to be unsuccessful with other countries. Mark Golding is saying that the Jamaican Constitution from 1962 does not entrench the Privy Council provision, because there has always been an intention to eventually move away from the Privy Council, and even the Privy Council has stated that any replacement must be entrenched, similar to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, which can be achieved through a 2/3 majority vote in the houses, not requiring a referendum. Mark Golding is suggesting that a referendum must be appropriate for matters only relating to removing the monarchy, rather than using it to establish the Caribbean Court of Appeal as the replacement for the Privy Council. If I one thing me know is that Mark Golding play with Holness JLP government. Him a beat them bad. Him been beating them with the DPP situation. Him beat them with the illicit six situation. Him just a beat them bad left, right and center, and I embarrass them, right? Because Mark Golding is letting Holness JLP government know that you can't just say, okay, then we want to get rid of the monarchy, but we want to also keep them at the table at the same time. No, we're gonna get rid of them all at once. We don't want one foot in and one foot out. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and make sure to subscribe to get all our latest videos. Thanks for the likes, thanks for the subscribe, thanks for the views, thanks for the comments. As always, I'm out.